If playing a team game, gather faction ID cards and form them into teams. Either choose or randomly select a setup card, placing it in the middle of the table. Use the other set of faction ID cards to form the turn order deck. Deal castle cards face down at random, forming the pattern shown on the setup card. The first phase of each round is the attack phase. Flip the top card of the turn order deck. That player plays an influence card. Since this is the first round, players can play on any castle. This continues until all players have played their attack. Since there are no swap cards in the first round, we skip the swap phase and go directly to the third phase, the conquer phase. Follow the direction of the fleur-de-lis on the setup card to score the first castle. Players score 1 power for conquering a castle. Proceed to score the rest of the castles in order according to the green chevrons on the setup card. When revealing a castle, ensure that the name banner points in the direction of the fleur-de-lis. Only reveal castles that have influence cards played on them. At the end of this round, all 4 players are tied with 1 power. Begin the next turn, shuffle the turn order deck, and begin the attack phase. The red player is using his delay card. The delay card is used to move your faction ID card to the bottom of the turn order deck. Continue the attack phase until all players have played their influence card and any or all of their special cards. As no swap cards were played, we skip the swap phase and go directly to the conquer phase. Following the fleur-de-lis, we score the first castle. Since blue maintained control of the castle the entire round, he scores 1 additional power. Blue conquers this castle and gains 1 power for conquering the castle. As yellow maintained control of this castle, he gains 2 power. This continues around the board, scoring all castles, again in order, following the green chevrons on the setup card. Here, red has 6 power from the influence card, plus 2 from the neighboring castle. Purple has 6 influence from their card, and 0 from their neighboring castle. So red gains control of this castle and scores 1 power. The next turn begins by flipping the top of the turn order deck, which has just been reshuffled. Here, yellow plays a swap card on one of their influence cards. Swap cards can be played on your influence cards to switch 2 of your influence cards that are already on the board. Swap cards can also be played on the setup card to rotate it, changing the order in which castles are scored. You can only play a swap card on the setup card if you're the first person to play a swap card. Finally, swap cards can be played on castles that you control, allowing you to change how their influence circles are aligned. Because there are swap cards, we do a swap phase. Starting with the setup card, the player who played the swap card can rotate the setup card. From the new direction of the fleur-de-lis, examine each castle and the influence cards on those castles, performing any swaps necessary. Yellow swap 2 of their existing influence cards, and here blue rotates one of their castles to change the amount of influence that it's going to provide to the neighboring castle. We move on to the conquer phase. Again, starting with the fleur-de-lis and moving around in the order shown on the setup card. Yellow has 3 influence from the card and 1 from a neighboring castle versus blue's 3 from their card plus 2 from the neighboring castle. So blue conquers this castle and scores 1 power. Yellow maintains control of this castle and scores 4 power. In a team game, you can play influence cards within reach of any of your allies' castles. Here, purple conquers the castle and scores 1 power. Red maintains control of this castle and scores 3 power. Red's 6 influence from their card plus 2 from the neighboring castle versus purple's 6 influence from their card means red maintains control of this castle and scores 2 power. The next turn begins, and in this case, yellow uses their saboteur card on blue's castle. Saboteur cards can be played on any castle and cause one of that castle's influence circles to be ignored during the next conquer phase. The conquer phase begins, starting with this castle. Blue has 3 influence from their card, but none from their neighboring castle due to the saboteur card, versus yellow's 3 from the card and 1 from the neighboring castle. Therefore, yellow conquers the castle and scores 1 power. Here, purple and red have the same influence from cards, as well as the same influence from neighboring castles due to the saboteur card. If the top influence scores a tie, no one conquers, and no one controls the castle, and no one scores power.